My name is Claire. I'm 27, and until a few months ago, I believed I was about to live the perfect fairy tale. I was engaged to a man I thought was the love of my life, Mark. Mark wasn't just my fiancé. He was my best friend. We met in college, bonding over late-night study sessions and cheap takeout. And from the very beginning, he made me feel like I was the only person in the room. He had this way of making me laugh when I was furious, of grounding me when the world felt too heavy. By the time he proposed, in a little cafe where we had our first date, I didn't hesitate. I said yes so quickly that the entire place erupted in applause. For me, it wasn't just about the ring or the wedding, it was about the life we were building together. Planning the wedding was chaotic, but in the best way. We spent weekends touring venues, taste testing cakes until we were sick of frosting, and laughing over our clumsy attempts at first dance practice in the living room. He would spin me until I was dizzy, then catch me with that boyish grin I'd fallen for years ago. My friends would tease me, saying, "You've got the glow, Claire. You look like a bride already." And I did glow, because I believed I had everything I ever wanted. A man who adored me, a future worth celebrating, and a family excited to watch us take the next step. As the big day drew closer, the excitement grew. My mom cried every time she looked at my dress hanging by the window. My bridesmaids planned every detail of my bridal shower, down to the color of the straws in the cocktails. And Mark's friends, they were ecstatic about planning his bachelor party. I didn't worry. Why would I? I trusted him completely. When people joked about wild bachelor nights, I'd roll my eyes. Not Mark, I'd say. He's not that guy. He told me he just wanted to have a few drinks, play some poker, maybe hit a bar. Nothing crazy. I believed him. The night of the bachelor party, I texted him just before I went to bed. "Have fun tonight. Can't wait to marry you." He sent back a string of heart emojis and a picture of him clinking beers with his groomsmen. I smiled, put my phone down, and drifted to sleep with a calm heart. The next morning, he came home late, claiming they'd gone bar hopping. He looked exhausted, more than just hungover, but I brushed it off. "Bachelor parties are supposed to be messy," I joked, kissing his cheek. He laughed, but there was a flicker in his eyes, something I couldn't name back then. Something I'd later realize was guilt. If only I'd known that night wasn't just a party. It was the beginning of the end. And the proof of it all would eventually land in my hands on the glowing screen of a phone destroying everything I thought. I knew about the man waiting for me at the altar. Bachelor parties are supposed to be harmless fun, right? A last hurrah before a lifetime commitment. That's what I told myself when Mark left that night, surrounded by his friends, all of them grinning like kids with a secret. I hugged him at the door. "Don't do anything too stupid," I teased. He kissed my forehead. "Don't worry, babe. You know what I mean?" And I did know more at least. I thought I did. The first thing that unsettled me was how late he stayed out. By 2 a.m, I woke up to silence. I checked my phone. No new messages. At 3, I called straight to voicemail. I told myself he was just drunk. Maybe his phone had died. Maybe he was crashing at his best man's place. But the unease gnawed at me. When the door finally creaked open at nearly 6 a.m., he stumbled in. His shirt was wrinkled, his hair a mess, and his eyes bloodshot. "Rough night?" I asked softly, trying not to sound accusing. He dropped his keys on the counter and gave me a weary smile. "Yeah, bars were packed." Lost track of time. I wrinkled my nose at the scent of alcohol clinging to him. "You could have texted." "Sorry, phone died," he muttered, waving a hand like it was nothing. He collapsed on the couch and was snoring within minutes. Later that morning, as I gathered his clothes for the laundry, I noticed something odd. His shirt smelled faintly of perfume not mine, a sweet, floral scent that clashed with the stench of whiskey and smoke. When I asked about it, he didn't even blink, probably from one of the bars. You know how crowded they get? The explanation made sense. Too much sense. Like he'd rehearsed it. Over the next few days, his behavior stayed off. He was distracted, quieter than usual. When I tried to talk about last-minute wedding details, he'd nod absently, eyes flicking to his phone. Once, when I walked into the room, he quickly shoved it into his pocket. I laughed nervously. "What, planning a surprise for me? Something like that?" he said, with a strained grin. I wanted to believe him. I told myself it was pre-wedding nerves, maybe cold feet. Everyone said grooms got weird before the big day, but a little voice inside me whispered, "This is different." A few nights later, I overheard him on the phone. His tone was low, almost urgent. "Look, don't say anything. I'll take care of it. Just trust me." When I stepped into the room, he hung up instantly. "Who was that?" I asked. He smiled too quickly. Just one of the guys, finalizing honeymoon stuff. I tried to match his smile, but my stomach twisted. Something was wrong. Still, I pushed the doubts down. I had a wedding to focus on, flowers, vows, family flying in. I told myself I was paranoid, that I'd laugh about this later. But the truth had already been recorded, sitting quietly in someone else's pocket, waiting for me to find it. And once I saw it, there would be no going back. Sometimes the truth doesn't arrive as whispers or suspicions. Sometimes it hits you like a punch in the gut, undeniable, brutal, captured in pixels on a screen. For me, it happened on a lazy Sunday afternoon, just 5 days before the wedding. One of Mark's groomsmen, Ethan, had come over. He left his phone on the coffee table while we chatted about seating arrangements. At some point, he went to grab a drink from the kitchen, and the screen lit up with a notification. Bachelor night highlights. Curious, I tapped it. The group chat burst open with photos and clips from that night. At first, it was harmless guys playing poker, chugging beers, singing off-key karaoke. I almost smiled, but then I swiped to the next video, and my smile died. Mark was there in the center of the frame. He was laughing, a drink in his hand, but that wasn't what froze me. It was the woman pressed against him, not just standing close, her arms around his neck, his hands on her waist. The music blared, people cheered, and then he kissed her. Not a drunken accident, not a fleeting brush. A real kiss, lingering, intentional. My breath caught. I replayed it, praying my eyes were deceiving me. But no, it was him. It was Mark, my fiancé, the man I was supposed to marry in less than a week. My hands shook so violently I almost dropped the phone. I swiped again, desperate for it to be a fluke. Another clip played Mark leading the same woman to a quieter corner, his arm draped around her, his lips against her ear, her laugh spilling out as he pulled her closer. The guys behind the camera whooped and hollered, treating it like some grand joke. And I sat there, stomach twisting, realizing my entire future had just collapsed into a grainy 3-minute video. When Ethan returned, I was frozen, the phone still in my hand. He saw my face and paled instantly. "Claire, wait, it's not what it looks like," he stammered, reaching for the phone. I pulled it back, voice trembling. "Don't you dare. I saw everything." He opened his mouth, then closed it, guilt written all over his face. That was answer enough. I stood abruptly, the chair scraping against the floor. "How long have you all been covering for him?" I demanded. Ethan's silence told me everything. I fled upstairs, clutching the phone like a weapon, tears spilling faster than I could wipe them away. The worst part wasn't just the betrayal itself. It was that everyone else knew. He's friends, the people who were supposed to stand beside us at the altar. They'd laughed, filmed, and protected him while I sat at home dreaming about our vows. That humiliation cut deeper than I can describe. Later that night, I confronted Mark. I held up the phone. The video paused on the image of him with his lips pressed to another woman's. "Explain this," I said, my voice shaken with fury. He froze, color draining from his face. "Claire, please. I was drunk. It didn't mean anything." "Drunk," I snapped. "That wasn't a mistake. That was you kissing her, holding her, sneaking off with her. Do you think I'm blind?" He ran a hand through his hair, pacing. "It was stupid. One night, I didn't want it to happen. I love you. You're the one I want to marry." I cut him off, my voice breaking. "You don't get to say that after I've seen the proof. You don't get to tell me I'm the love of your life when you threw it away for a cheap thrill at your bachelor party." His excuses piled up. The guys egged me on. I didn't want to seem boring. I don't even know her name, but every word only made me angrier, because the truth was simple. He chose it. He chose betrayal over loyalty. And now I had to choose what came next. The video looped in my head even when the screen went black as hands. Her laugh, the way he leaned in like he'd done it 100 times. I'd always thought the worst pain would be a sudden blow, but this felt like drowning. Slow, heavy, inevitable. Mark stood across the room, words fumbling over themselves. "Claire, please, listen." I did listen, I said, voice shaking, "to your promises. To every I love you said while you were busy proving the opposite." He tried to close the distance, palms up like he could calm the flames with a gesture. It was stupid. I got caught up. "The guys..." "Stop blaming the guys," I snapped. "They didn't kiss for you. They didn't pull her close. They didn't hide it afterward. You did." He swallowed hard. "It didn't mean anything." "Then why does it mean everything to me?" I asked, softer now, the fury cooling into something colder. Why does it feel like our entire future is built on a floor that just gave way? Silence stretched between us, taut and thin. I could hear a refrigerator hum. A car passed outside. In that ordinary soundtrack, my life changed shape. I'll make it right, he said finally. I'll call everyone. I'll apologize. We'll go to therapy. Please don't throw this away. I stared at the ring on my finger. It felt heavier than gold. You threw it first. He winced as if the words had weight. Maybe they did. My phone buzzed it. Was Maya? Are you okay? I'm coming over. Don't. I typed back. Give me an hour. I looked up at Mark. I need space, I said. Tonight. Maybe more than tonight. His face crumpled. Claire, our wedding is in 5 days. I felt a bitter smile twitch. That sentence used to make me happy. He reached toward me again. I stepped back. Please leave, I said. I can't breathe with you here. He hesitated, then nodded once, slowly, like someone accepting a verdict. He grabbed his keys, stopped at the door, and looked back at me. I love you, he whispered. I didn't answer. When the door shut, the apartment felt cavernous, like a chapel after the music stops. The next morning, the fallout began. Ethan texted, I'm sorry. I should have stopped him. Another groomsman sent a half-formed apology that made everything worse. He was wasted. It was just a dare. Just a dare. Like my heart was a party trick. My mother called, voice thick with concern. What happened? I told her the short version. She inhaled sharply and said, Do not marry him to save face. I didn't realize I needed permission until I had it. By noon, Mark's mother was at my door with a casserole and eyes that looked like his. He's a good man, she pleaded. Men do foolish things at bachelor parties. It doesn't define him. I agree, I said. It defines us. She flinched, then nodded, a quiet understanding passing between two women who loved the same man in different ways. That afternoon, Mark showed up again, holding a small stack of handwritten pages. What is that? I asked. My apology, he said. To you, to your parents, to our friends, to mine. I wrote what I'm going to say when we tell them we're postponing the wedding. Postponing, I echoed. He swallowed. I'm not trying to pressure you. I don't want to lose us forever because of one night. The pages trembled in his hands. I believed the tremble. I even believed the regret, but belief isn't the same as trust. Read it, I said. He did. It wasn't perfect, but it was honest. No excuses. No blame shifting. No alcohol as alibi. For a moment, I saw the man I'd planned to marry, the one who faces mess with humility instead of spin. When he finished, we were both quiet. I pressed my palms together hard enough to feel my pulse. It matters that you wrote that, I said. It doesn't erase what you filmed. He nodded. I know we called my parents and asked them to come over. Maya came too, because I needed my person. We sat around our dining table, the place where we practiced vows and menu tastings, and told the truth. My father's jaw tightened with every sentence. So you want me to walk my daughter down an aisle toward a man who treated her like a trial run? He asked. No, I said softly. No, I'll right now. Mark looked him in the eye. Sir, I'm sorry. I did this. If Claire decides to end this, I will accept it. My mother reached for my hand under the table. Maya's eyes brimmed in, then sharpened. Claire, she said gently, what do you want? Not in 6 months. Not after pressure. Now, I looked at Mark, at the ring. Actually, the life Edie pictured in 1,000 variations. I thought of a future where every delayed text is a siren, where every boys' night is a test, where trust is homework instead of home. I want honesty, I said, and I don't have that baseline anymore. Mark's face fell, but he didn't argue. Then I'll cancel the venue, he said hoarsely. I'll call the band. I'll tell my family. You shouldn't have to carry any of it. Thank you, I managed. My father exhaled for what sounded like the first time all day. You're not alone, he said to me. We'll handle logistics. You handle breathing. The calls were brutal. The venue was compassionate. The photographer was quiet and kind. The florist offered to convert the order into arrangements for a small family dinner to mark a transition, instead of a wedding. I appreciated the euphemism more than I expected. Mark handled his side. I listened from the bedroom as he said the words to his best man. I messed up. Don't defend me. I didn't know if that would change anything, but it mattered. By evening, the shape of the week had changed completely. There would be no rehearsal. No aisle, no honeymoon, just space. Mark stood in the doorway with a suitcase he'd packed. I'll stay with my brother, he said. You can have the apartment. I'll send money for the non-refundable stuff. A dozen responses crowded my throat, but only one made it out. Take care of yourself, I said. You too, he whispered. I'm sorry. When the door closed behind him, I sat on the floor and finally let the sobs come. Ugly, shaking, honest. Maya sank down beside me, a hand on my back, the other handing me tissues like a metronome. You did the hard thing, she murmured. That doesn't mean it hurts less. I nodded into the space between us. I don't know if I ended my wedding or saved my life. Maybe both, she said. That night, I moved the dress to the back of the closet. Not a bonfire, not a purge. Juste a pausi. On the dresser, I placed the ring in its box and shut the light a soft click that felt louder than any organ chord. I opened my notes app and wrote one sentence I could live by. I won't bind my future to someone who treated our promise like a prop. Then I turned off the light. The apartment was quiet, but for the first time since the video, the silence didn't feel like a void. It felt like a room I could learn to live in again. The week that was supposed to be filled with final fittings, last rehearsals, and joyful countdowns turned into something else entirely. Instead of practicing vows, I was canceling bookings. Instead of walking down an aisle, I was walking away from a future I thought was certain. The hardest part wasn't the logistics, it was the silence. People whispered, guests called to ask why the wedding was suddenly off. Some offered sympathy, others pressed for details. I didn't know anyone the full story, but the fragments I gave were enough. It wasn't what I thought it was. I couldn't go through with it. Most people nodded, quietly approving. A few said I was brave, but in the quiet of my own room, bravery felt like heartbreak dressed in armor. Mark tried to reach out a few times in the weeks after. Emails, handwritten letters, one long voicemail where his voice cracked in a way that used to break me. I listened once, then deleted it. I didn't need apologies anymore. I needed distance. Healing wasn't linear. Some mornings I woke up lighter, relieved I hadn't tied myself to someone who'd already broken his vows before saying them. Other mornings, I felt crushed by the weight of what might have been the house we planned to buy, the children we dreamed about, the vacations marked on a calendar that no longer mattered. The dress remained in my closet, a ghost of a path not taken. Some days, I thought about selling it. Other days, I thought about keeping it as proof that I'd survived. Friends pulled me out of the darkness piece by piece. Maya dragged me to brunches. My mom invited me on long walks. My dad fixed things around my apartment just to be near. Slowly, their presence filled these spaces Mark used to occupy. Therapy helped too. I learned that betrayal isn't just about what someone did, it's about the way it rewrites your trust in yourself. I had ignored instincts, excused red flags, told myself lies to keep my world intact. That was the hardest wound to heal, forgiving myself for believing him. Months later, I saw Mark again. Not intentionally, we crossed paths at a mutual friend's barbecue. His eyes widened when he saw me, and for a moment, the noise around us faded. He looked smaller somehow, not physically, but diminished. A man still carrying the weight of what he lost. We exchanged polite words. Nothing more. No anger, no tears, just a quiet acknowledgement of a story that had ended. As I walked away, I realized something. The pain had dulled. It would never vanish completely, but it no longer defined me. I don't know if I'll ever wear white again. I don't know if I'll ever say vows with the same innocence I once had. But I do know this. I would rather face heartbreak head-on than live a lifetime of doubt. Sometimes walking away isn't failure, it's freedom. So now I ask you, if you discovered your fiancé cheated at their bachelor party just days before the wedding, what would you do? Would you forgive and go through with it? Or would you call everything off like I did?